One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The moon. It's not just a shiny rock spinning around us. It could be our next home. That's right, we're talking lunar colonies, houses made from extraterrestrial material and living in low gravity. But the moon isn't our final frontier. It's just the launch pad for humanity's next big leap, Mars. Welcome back to an alternate world where we've colonized the moon. Stick around to learn what we'd find there, how we'd survive, and the ongoing epic space race to make it happen. Now, I know you're wondering, why the moon? What will we find there? Moon cheese, Martians, old robots? No, but what we do find is even cooler and way more useful. So, let's unpack the lunar loot. One of the most fascinating aspects of the moon is its untapped potential. Sure, it's a giant dusty rock, but it's a giant dusty rock with resources that we can use. Because of the moon's position relative to the sun, there are craters around the South Pole whose bottoms have never seen sunlight, ever. For eons, any water that might have accumulated there has been preserved as ice. But this ice isn't for making moon margaritas on our brand new moon home. Think beyond. It could be a game changer for sustaining life and fueling rockets. That frozen water can be broken down into oxygen for breathing and hydrogen for rocket fuel. So, when you think about it, the moon is like a cosmic gas station and water source rolled into one. Talk about the dark side of the moon having some serious secrets. Now let's talk about the moon's surface. It's covered in regolith, which is a fancy word for moon dirt. This stuff is super important because we can use it to build habitats, shielding us from radiation and micrometeorites. Imagine giant 3D printers using moon dust to create our lunar homes. It's like Minecraft, but in space. And the moon's surface isn't just valuable for its dirt, it's also priceless because of the history it holds. Without an atmosphere or liquid water, lunar craters remain pristine, unchanged over time. It's sort of like a time capsule. So, planetary scientists hope that by studying the moon's ground, we can learn more from the solar system's early days. It's a history book written with literal stardust. The moon sure sounds like a great place to be, but could we actually live there? Well, it's not going to be as easy as just packing your bags and changing postal codes. We've got some serious obstacles to overcome. For one, there's the radiation. To put it lightly, it'd be like living in a giant tanning booth without sunscreen. Then there's the dust, which is more abrasive than your ex's texts. Lunar dust has silicate in it, a material that is commonly found on planetary bodies with volcanic activity. It's so harsh that it ate away layers of spacesuit boots and destroyed the vacuum seals of Apollo sample containers. And don't even get me started on the gravity, or lack thereof. With only 1/6 of Earth's gravity, everything is lighter on the moon, and jumps are 6 times higher. It'd sure be great for playing basketball, but maybe not so much for keeping your belongings in place. Lunar life also means coping with extreme temperatures. Daytime highs reach a scorching 127 degrees Celsius or 260 degrees Fahrenheit, while nights plunge to a bone-chilling minus 173 degrees Celsius or minus 280 degrees Fahrenheit. Way too cold for me, but Raymond Clinton Jr., senior technical advisor at NASA, thinks living on the moon could become our reality. He came up with the idea of 3D printing homes in space. The plan is to ship a 3D printer up to the moon to build houses made out of lunar concrete. That's right, we're using moon rocks to make moon homes. 'Cause let's face it, shipping construction materials from Earth, that's a one-way ticket to bankruptcy. Soon enough, we'll be creating houses, labs, and artificial spaces to survive on the moon. Of course, there is a bit of an issue. We don't have much lunar soil here on Earth to test this idea. But scientists from the European Space Agency might have found a clever workaround. Moon dust is pretty similar to volcanic powder, like the kind produced by eruptions around Cologne, Germany about 45 million years ago. And the best part? There is plenty of it for experiments. This lunar dust stand-in is called EAC-1. So, with EAC-1, we can test our moon-building ideas right here on Earth. It's not a matter of if we'll make it to the moon, but when. And more importantly, who'll get there first. The moon has always been a hotspot for international competition. Back in the 60s and 70s, NASA was like, hey, let's send some folks up there. And thus, the Apollo missions were born. The Apollo program saw 6 successful crewed landings between 1969 and 1972, with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin famously becoming the first humans to set foot on another celestial body during Apollo 11, moonwalking before Michael Jackson made it cool. And these historic missions not only captured the world's imagination, but also cemented the United States' dominance in space exploration during the Cold War era. However, the race didn't stop there. The Soviets were also in the game with their Lunar program, sending robotic missions and unmanned landers to scope out the lunar scene. Fast forward to today, the race to the moon continues, but in a more collaborative spirit, if you may. NASA's Artemis program, named after Apollo's twin sister in Greek mythology, aims to return humans to the moon by the mid-2020s, including the first woman, the first Canadian, and the first African American to go to the moon in their crew. NASA also established the Artemis Accords, where they're trying to get everyone on the same page about lunar exploration and who gets dibs on what. 21 countries signed this arrangement and said that whatever any of them find, they will share their discoveries in a transparent manner and to benefit everyone. Think of it like setting ground rules for a family game night, but instead of Monopoly, they're playing Lunaropoly. But there's a plot twist. One of the main contenders in the space race isn't part of these accords. China, a world power, has emerged as a major player with its Chang'e program, named after the Chinese goddess of the moon. The Chang'e missions have achieved significant milestones, including the recent landing of Chang'e 6, which made history by bringing back samples from the moon's south pole, Aitken Basin, for the first time. This might just give them the upper hand on figuring out how to utilize these materials for future space colonization. NASA is trying to catch up. Despite having powerful companies such as SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Boeing helping out the Artemis missions, Artemis 2, scheduled to take the crew to the moon in September of 2024, recently hit a delay. Turns out, sending humans to another celestial body isn't as easy as ordering takeout. Erosion on the spacecraft's heat shield during re-entry to Earth's atmosphere on their previous mission has made evident the challenges of deep space travel, and they've had to pump the brakes a bit. But hey, that's space exploration for you. Lots of highs, a few delays, but always an adventure. And if Artemis missions go according to plan, they never have, but hope springs eternal, within a decade, it'll be likely that people will live and work from a permanent fission-powered outpost from the moon. This new era of the space race has everyone with moon eyes, literally. Security and defense interests now play a bigger role than ever before, especially for the US. But what really sets this race apart is the involvement of visionary entrepreneurs like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Richard Branson, whose private ventures are partnering with the government to achieve national goals. Bezos, the man who brought you one-click shopping, is now clicking his way to the stars with Blue Origin. Focused on sustainable space development, Blue Origin is all about providing transport to low Earth orbit and beyond. Plus, they're leading a NASA partnership to develop a moon lander for the Artemis program. Talk about prime delivery. Richard Branson, never one to be left out of the party, is taking space tourism to new heights with Virgin Galactic. Forget about booking a trip to the Bahamas. How about a jaunt to the edge of space in a winged space plane? In August, Virgin Galactic successfully flew its first tourists. Now that's what I call a high-flying adventure. And then there's Elon Musk, the guy who's practically the Tony Stark of our time. SpaceX, with its audacious goal of making life interplanetary, is the dominant force in rocket manufacturing. They're a key contractor for NASA's Artemis program and aim to revolutionize space travel with the Starship rocket for satellite launches, human missions, and trips to Mars. SpaceX isn't just shooting for the moon, they're aiming for the whole solar system. So, will the US beat other countries to the moon, getting by with a little help from its entrepreneurial friends? Alright, so let's say we've cracked the moon code, set up shop, and we're now living it up on our celestial satellite. What would life be like? Well, one of the craziest changes we'd experience is time. The moon has a very slow rotation, so a day lasts about 2 Earth weeks, as does the night. Yep, one full moon day would turn into a full earthly month. Our 9 to 5 would change drastically, and hopefully our paychecks too. Then, lunar habitats would need to be as tough as nails to withstand the meteors that arrive at full speed to the moon's ground, with advanced heating and cooling systems keeping us cozy inside. One choice that's being explored is to use old lava tunnels just below the moon's surface to create a safe, shielded space from the outside world. Robots would be our lunar workhorses, navigating the harsh lunar terrain and mining resources like water ice found at the poles. Water would be crucial for drinking, growing food, and making rocket fuel. And you may wonder, how will we be powering all this? Well, solar panels, of course, soaking up the perpetual sunlight near the lunar poles. But as the lunar base grows, compact nuclear power plants might join the party, because one of the moon's most valuable resources is helium-3, a potential future fuel for fusion reactors and birthday balloons. But after we've set up camp on the moon, what's next? You guessed it, Mars. The moon is just a stepping stone. NASA's Artemis program is paving the way for safer human missions to Mars as early as the 2030s. Scientists believe that Mars was once a Goldilocks planet, meaning it is the right distance from the sun to allow temperatures for water. And similar to the moon, whatever water is left is trapped in ice. So, a lot of the technology being developed to take us to the moon could actually serve us to withstand the harsh conditions of Mars. 8 nations have sent a total of 55 robotic missions to Mars, but of those, only 28 have been successful. There's still a long way to go before we can ensure we reach the red planet safely, but we have our eyes on the prize. And it doesn't stop there. Other celestial bodies are on the radar too. Asteroids, moons of other planets, and beyond. The universe is vast, and we're just getting started. So there you have it, an alternate world where we've colonized the moon. From finding ancient ice to overcoming lunar living challenges, the moon is a treasure trove of possibilities. And it's just the beginning. Mars, here we come. So what do you think? Would you take the chance to move out of your home to a lunar station? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell us which alternate world we should explore next. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars.